What up, Council?
Whoa.
What is going on? Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. I am Dave Valente, joined as always by Dan, the man, Fishman.
Always is a strong word, but I'd say that I've
Oh,
been pretty consistent
pretty
recently.
consistent, yes. AJ's not joining us tonight. She, the joys of being a parent are keeping her away from us tonight, but which means we get to talk a little bit more about sports. So let's talk. The Major League Baseball season has come to an end. And sadly, neither of our teams are participating
I
beyond
mean,
today.
I like the fact that that means there's not going to be any playoffs, but I feel bad for the other teams. I know the Rangers had a pretty good year. It would be nice if they got to play in the postseason, but obviously, if the Red Sox aren't playing, there is no postseason. So
There's
that's
no
my bad.
reason to play.
Exactly.
The same with my Yankees.
Yep.
There's no reason to play.
It
Everyone
is.
should go home.
It is amazing that three teams from the East are in the playoffs, and none of them are the Yankees or the Red Sox.
Well, what it can be said that along with Boston to a lesser extent, but the Yankees, the Mets, and the Padres, none of them made the playoffs despite spending. I mean, the Mets are paying players greater than most team salaries,
Yeah,
especially playoff team salaries. They're paying players that are no longer playing for their team.
yeah,
Not just Bobby Bonilla, which I celebrate
yeah.
his Bobby Bonilla Day, which is July 1st of every year. He gets a 1 point something million dollar check from the New York Mets just for fleecing them
Yeah.
and then
Now,
writing bad checks. So
I will say, my buddy Monty, who was he on the hockey show once, or is that just my brother? I don't
just your
remember.
brother.
Okay, well, we'll do one with Monty one time. Monty is my real go to sports expert guy. When we played trivia, he was our sports guy on Smarty McTrivia Pants. Uh, he made a
What's
bet
up,
at the
James?
beginning of the season, and he's a huge Red Sox fan, but he bet that the Sox would finish under 78 and a half wins. And so he was sweating it.
78 this year. Yeah.
Exactly. He was sweating it down to the very end, but he won. And so he won a pretty big bet. And when he made it, he sort of said, I'm doing it because I don't want them to be this bad. So I'm hoping that I lose the bet. But he
That's
did
a big
win the bet.
consolation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like people thought the Red Sox, that nobody had the illusion that the Red Sox were like a world beating roster. But nobody thought they were going to finish at the bottom of the American League East.
Same with the Yankees. I mean, the
Yeah.
Yankees had, and my hope is that this is they finally have the moment where they say, okay, we've given Aaron Boone a sizable run at doing this and just has never, hopped over the peak. You can always make the argument about, what the Astros did, whether they had buzzers or drums or whatever. Um, but he still hasn't gotten the job done and still has the same issues befall the Yankees every year. Still doesn't know how to manage a bullpen, still doesn't they're just not able to get over the top, and they've regressed this year, and hopefully we'll see some new leadership in the Yankees. um, but that's not always a panacea. I mean,
Right.
the Mets change managers like underwear, so uh,
Right. I mean, and I think that it's very true that the days are gone when you can really just buy a pennant. Like I
you
think
know as
the
much as people
Marlins did it.
Yeah. As much as people accuse the Yankees of doing it, if you look at those massive teams that they had in the late 90s, that central core of the team was all homegrown. Jeter was homegrown, Posada was homegrown. Um, uh, uh,
Yeah, I mean they
Mar- uh,
brought in Alex Rodriguez.
yeah,
Uh,
but when they brought in Alex Rodriguez, that was at the end of that dominant stretch. He didn't
yeah,
win a World Series in 2000 until 2009.
yeah, and I guess I mean, yeah, Scott Brocious, who is still in my mind the worst Yankee, uh, and
I mean, yeah,
Paul.
Paul
Uh,
O'Neill was great.
Yeah.
But he was acquired via trade. He wasn't brought in as a free agent. It wasn't until the Yankees started trying to buy pennants with free agents where they brought in Roger Clemens towards the end of that run
Right.
that really it started falling apart, and they didn't get the returns that they thought. And, when they started climbing back into contention is when they focused on actually bringing in homegrown talent,
Right.
where you got Aaron Judges and, Gleyber Torres and guys like that, so
Yeah. What's up, James? What's up, Craig?
Craig.
Uh, yeah, no, I agree with you on that. The interesting thing too is that there was a point where it was such an arms race just between the Red Sox and the Yankees.
And then the Mets did it this year, where they
Right.
just pushed everything into the center,
Right.
acquiring Max Scherzer and Verlander, and
Right.
then dealing them both off, and they're still paying like half their salary.
Right. And I mean, both of those guys really underperformed.
Yeah, but that whole team underperformed because really, when you bring in a bunch of players, and I've seen this in hockey as well, those teams that bring in a ton of players
Right.
in the off season never perform that next season because it takes a time for a team to gel
Yeah.
and to
Now,
get on the same page.
the one other thing I'll say about it is that I think if you would put the Yankees in the Central and the Red Sox in the West, they both would have made the
They would have won
finals.
they would have won the divisions. I mean
Yeah.
that
Right.
uh,
Because and I know that the Yankees finished at 82 wins and Twins finished at 87. But if the Yankees had been in that division and gotten to play the Tigers and the Guardians and the White Sox and the Royals, they would have
yeah,
had a lot more wins. And
exactly.
so it
Or
is
if
an
you're
interesting
playing
thing.
Oakland a bunch.
Exactly. Where you can, I mean, the Astros are okay. The Rangers are okay. That's the Texan in me speaking. But, uh, I don't really think I'm not going to go through and look up what the Astros Yankees split was. But
I think it was around 500 this year. It wasn't like a blowout. I think
yeah,
the Astros did catch them when the Yankees were having a bad run, and the Yankees had their moments this year, but it was just there was that swoon in July after the All-Star break
right.
until August that just did them in. They're at one
Yeah,
point they're only like 2 or 3 games ahead of the Washington Nationals
yeah.
in the standings, and that was Washington had an awful season.
So the Red Sox won the split with the Astros. I said I wasn't going to look it up, but they did.
Huh.
Oh no, wait. That's just a 4-game series. I have to look up the whole damn thing. I'm
Janice,
not going to.
we did not pick a new country after Somalia. We talked about maybe Mexico. I, I actually want to do one in South America.
Okay,
That's one continent we haven't hit yet. So
Bolivia,
let's do Paraguay.
Paraguay. Sounds good.
So we'll do that one.
I know
Probably our
very
next.
little about Paraguay.
It is
I know
the
that their
big
flag is
landlocked country in the middle of
red and white
Yep.
with the star. And Broncos, man, that game was ridiculous. I can tell you so. My wife is a Bears fan, and
Condolences.
holy crap! Well, first of all, I like the fact what Dave posted is that we should petition the network to not show the Broncos Bears game and instead, excuse me, re-show the Georgia Auburn game.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. I'm also a firm believer in promotion relegation,
Mm.
and that the Bears should be relegated to the XFL USFL merger league.
Except that what's crazy is that I mean the Bears came out like gangbusters, right? They were
Oh no, yeah, they were up to what 28
to 7
in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean it was just an astonishing loss. And what happened was they really got away from their game plan.
Yeah,
And Denver, to give them credit, caught fire a little bit, but boy, it
you
was just
call that
crazy.
fire though.
Well, I mean they scored
they
on
played
four.
better.
They scored on 4 consecutive possessions.
Yeah,
So if only there were a team called the Loins, Craig, we would.
it would be a very stiff defense.
Exactly. People talk about how much the Loins suck. um,
Nice. But anyway, so let's just wrap up the conversation on baseball. So this week the playoffs start. The wild card round. So there are 3 wild cards in each league, and the lowest finishing division champion is in the wild card round. So that starts. Um, the Rangers will be taking on the Twins, who are the division Central Division winners, and then the two wild card matchup, which is the Rays and the Jays. The Rays will be hosting them. Winner of the Twins series goes to play the Astros, and the Jays and Rays goes to play the Orioles. Um, and who would have thunk at the beginning of the season that the Baltimore
Orioles,
Orioles
yeah,
would be the
surprising,
100
surprising
game
team.
winner? Yeah, 100 game winner, and not only just making playoffs, but being the American League East champion,
Yep,
especially after the start that the Rays had. The Rays ran off to like a because they
yep.
played nobody the first month and a half of the season. They ran off to like a 30-3 start, and then the O's were just methodical and caught everybody and are the American League East champions. In
Yeah.
the
Now, so
National League,
are you rooting for anybody?
uh, the Brewers, I think.
Interesting.
So the Diamondbacks, Arizona Diamondbacks, are taking on the Milwaukee Brewers in the wild card round. Brewers were the Central Division, so both
Yep.
uh, Central divisions in playoffs or the Major League season were kind of awful this year.
Yeah.
But the Brewers made it. The Dodgers will be hosting the winner of that wild card game, and then the Marlins and the Phillies get to play and have the right to get beaten down by the Braves. So
Yeah. The Braves definitely look like the best all around team.
yeah,
Uh, I generally root against the National League. Uh, just like it used to be that the Astros were my National League team,
yeah,
but then they moved. So, I mean, the Mets were my original National League team when I lived in New York, but
yeah.
haven't really rooted for them in a long time. So, I I don't know. I kind of would like to see the Rangers win it all.
They had such a hard luck run,
Yep.
like 10 years ago,
Yep.
and within a strike of winning the World Series and losing
Yep.
twice in heartbreaking fashion. Yeah,
Yeah, and they've never won.
and they never won. Yeah,
So, like, you know, the Asterixes have won already.
yeah.
Um, Twins have
Braves won
won.
recently, but I mean, I don't mind the Braves winning.
Yeah, that wouldn't be terrible. Like
My
if I
wife would
had to
be
pick a
happy.
National League team, I probably would pick the Braves. I mean, I hate the Brewers because of what's his name, the commissioner.
Oh, Bud Selig.
Yeah, Bud Selig.
Yeah,
Um, which probably isn't fair for the entire team in town, but whatever. Uh,
I love their
and
logo, the M and the B
yeah,
interlock, the glove.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's not bad. Um,
and beer. I mean,
beer, right? I agree with that. All right.
sorry,
Uh,
that's the end of the Sunday night baseball show.
yeah,
Anyway, so I'm hoping for a Braves, and I mean, I'd like to see the Brewers advance. Again, that's a team that's never won it. Um, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Braves and Orioles World Series. I think it's a little early for the Orioles. Um, I don't know who comes out of the American League. That's just tough. But I think the Braves end up winning it all.
yeah,
We'll see it. We'll see. All right. Let's see. It is a free for all tonight, so we're going to be talking about all kinds of different things. So, uh, first topic is the government shutdown that wasn't. So yesterday we avoided a government shutdown. Uh, Speaker Kevin McCarthy hashed out a plan to do a 45-day, what's called a continuing resolution that funds the government at current levels until November 17th, I believe, is the D day for that. And so, yeah, and this is at great peril to his speakership. Matt Pizza Gates
yep.
has already filed a motion to vacate the speakership for his
And you
wife
know who
filing.
said that she's going to support him?
Who support Pizza Gates?
Yep,
Who's that?
AOC.
All the wing nuts, man. I'm telling you,
Yep.
I don't like the wing nuts in our Congress. My hope, I and I don't, it's hard to root for the mainstream folks to come together, but I think that these wing nuts on either side are just such a
Yeah, I agree.
pain in the ass that I would love to see them get together and say, you know what, we're going to form a broad coalition and we're just going to kick out the members of these wing nuts, uh, and let them be independent,
Yeah,
non-members essentially. You don't get committee assignments. You're just floating around, and maybe
right.
you guys can form your own party. But this is we're done with this.
Yeah, it's interesting because you can make an argument that and this for us in terms of third party politics, um, people have carved out their own little parties
Yeah,
within the mainstream parties. It's an interesting place to be. Uh, Getz is
it's a piece
that's
of
some
shit.
crazy stuff. Uh, and the idea that he and AOC are going to join together, I hope that that makes a wake up for like other people
Yeah,
to say, we should do more stuff. That I mean, and it does to a certain extent, right? Did all the Democrats vote with McCarthy? I know more Democrats than Republicans voted for this.
there was one Democrat who did not vote for the deal, and that was over Ukraine funding, and we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, the Democrats came in big for McCarthy, and that was the bridge too far for Matt Gaetz. Is that he passed a budget with Democratic support,
Yeah,
and I mean honestly, that's the purpose of Congress. Is that
yeah,
he should be working together to try and craft solutions, and he did that. That's I mean, it's a
more than
rare moment, and he's doing it at peril of his speakership, which take it
yeah.
or leave it. Who wants to be the speaker of that?
But honestly, I don't know how true that is, right? Because he says he wants to. Uh, I mean, if the Democrats are going to join with them, obviously they have enough votes to remove him from being speaker.
Yeah,
But would they really do that? Because
that's the question. Do the Democrats want to throw it into peril because what you're looking at is another probably at least 15 round vote to replace him.
and you're definitely not getting any budget relief through that.
Yep, could last all the way through November.
Yep.
Because they do generally have a break coming up as we get closer to Columbus Indigenous Peoples Day holiday, and is traditionally a time back in their own districts.
Right.
Um, so the congressional calendar loosens up for members to go back to their districts. If they're having to fight a speakership battle, I mean, I think there's going to be enough of the rank and file Republicans stick with McCarthy, and a few enough Democrats will support McCarthy to avoid this kind of. And maybe they can revisit it after the budget deal is made. They can say, okay, now we can entertain the whole
Yeah. The
eating
shenanigans.
McCarthy.
Right.
But at this point, I think McCarthy stays, and I think that's part of that was part of his calculation when he made the deal
The
on
45
budget. And
day
maybe
deal.
that was part of the deal that he made with Democrats is that if there is a motion to vacate, that he gets enough Democrats to come over and support.
Right.
Um,
Because otherwise it just makes no sense.
no,
The I mean,
Congress makes no sense because I mean
right,
it could
exactly.
happen.
Right. We're
It could
essentially
happen where he just gets yeeted and he's
trying to apply logic to clown school.
yeah,
But the idea that that this coalition of extremists, the idea that the Democrats should vote in lockstep, is as stupid as the idea that the Republicans should vote in lockstep.
exactly.
And so I just can't see. Uh, I'm trying to remember who minority leader is now, and I don't remember. But I can't see them saying, "Oh yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're all going to follow AOC and move Kevin McCarthy out," because after that, right? I mean, there's no. I don't see the Freedom Caucus giving in at all. Or what do they don't even call themselves Freedom Caucus? What do they call themselves?
I think it is the
The
Liberty or
Freedom.
Freedom Caucus or something like that.
It's the Suck My Caucus. I think
Yeah.
is what they're calling themselves. It's
Um,
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, because I don't think that I think that probably part of the deal that got the Democrats to vote on the budget was to um, to buffer McCarthy in case something does go down. Because I got to think, and maybe they're not thinking this, but again, if Gates is successful in overthrowing the speaker, then we are talking about just, I mean, a clown
Well,
show. And yeah, it is. I mean, it's going to look really bad for Republicans, and
here's here's
they
one of
got
the
a lot of
interesting things about it.
mileage off the last one.
A lot of people aren't aware of the fact the speaker does not have to be a member of Congress.
Nope.
So it might be interesting to see if they get McCarthy out. Could the Democrats come up with somebody that maybe 20 rational Republicans would vote for? Like, I mean, the example that I've always liked is Ron Paul, right? And that's not going to happen.
No,
But what about Justin Amash, right? That would be an
I
interesting.
doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it
You know,
too.
I doubt that they're going to go for a third way. Um,
But if you're going to get
they're
to
going to
the
want something predictable.
if you're going to get to the spot that I mean, so here's the other interesting thing about it. What if the Republicans, right? What if the Freedom Caucus wants
Donald Trump.
Lorena Bobbitt, right?
Lorena
Not
Bobbitt?
Lorena Bobbitt.
That
Lauren Lorena Bobbitt.
that would be an interesting one.
Right. You know who I mean. But let's just say they want MGT.
Oh God, no.
Would the Democrats would it be in their interest to vote for her?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're trying to sabotage, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a political play.
Right.
But the
Here's yeah.
problem is if you are the, one of 5 or 6 Democrats that cross over and vote for MTG,
Mm,
then,
I think all the Democrats would vote for MGT,
uh,
and none of the Republicans except for the Freedom Caucus. And then
I don't know.
that would be pretty cool.
It would I don't know what cool would be the
It would
term
be
there.
bad for the country,
Right.
but it would be interesting from a political standpoint. And
Um,
I mean, if I were the Democrats, I would totally do that. I'd say, look, this is how terrible these assholes are. You don't believe us? We're going to put them in charge in this short time period where you guys don't have a lot of chance to do anything.
I mean, you're talking over a year, though. I mean, we don't get congressional elections for another year at this point. So
Right.
they're there for a while. Plus, you put her in now.
Yeah.
What does the budget battle look like in 45 days when this thing runs out?
Well, I mean, I will say it's interesting that I would like to see somebody propose a PAYGO type scenario. The Omnibus Budget Act of
Get on the bus.
1990, where essentially what they said is that we're not going to require a balanced budget, but any new spending has to either be offset by cutting spending somewhere else or have an increase in taxes that supports it. So that essentially all the moves going forward in the future have to be revenue neutral. And they did that for 10 years and they balanced the budget. And when Clinton left, there was a surplus. In
Yeah.
fact, in the end, it was the Republicans who undermined it,
Yep.
Newt Gingrich. So it would be interesting to see if you could, if,
Yep.
The Freedom Caucus proposed something like that. I mean, that's not really right. Is that a terrible rule? The idea
It's
that
Oh, it's not. I mean, that or zero-based budgeting, or
Yeah,
there are a host of things that you could do. Of course, the balanced budget amendment kind of is the holy grail.
right.
Um, but never gonna pass.
No, I mean, it requires amending the Constitution. That's not going
Yeah,
to happen.
yeah. So it's not gonna happen. But um, I mean, I think if it came to a national vote, I think it could happen.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I think so.
but uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know that you're gonna see any budget machinations that life changing coming out of this. I think it's gonna be we're gonna get how it's gonna end is we're gonna get another promise to pay off the debt or reduce the debt over 10 years. Everything's backloaded into the years 9 and 10, and by
Right,
the time we get to years 9 and 10, it's long forgotten
right,
in budget battles that will happen between now and then.
right.
That's what's happened the last few ones.
How many
You know
people remember the sequester?
oh, yeah, sequestration.
Yeah,
Oh my lord. We still hear Republicans talk about, "We haven't funded the military because of
yeah.
sequestration," and
James, I'm excited to see that you're drinking the banquet beer. I
nice.
am a huge fan of Coors Banquet. In this case, I had a cookout yesterday, and so I'm
He
drinking
didn't
my
invite you.
leftover beers. I'm starting with the Blue Moon Belgian White,
Nice.
and then I will be moving on to a Shiner Bock,
Sweet.
which Shiner is my favorite beer. I just
That's a good Texas beer.
good Texas beer brewed in Shiner, Texas. They used to have when I was going to school in Austin. They had the Shiner Fun Ride where you would get donations and then ride your bike the 100 miles to Shiner, and then you could have all the beer you could drink and nachos. And then at
Did
the
you
end
have
of
to
the
ride
day,
back?
no, you would throw your bike on top of a school bus, and they just have these school buses driving you back. And so, 100 miles is a pretty long bike ride,
Yeah, it is.
but it's a slow enough journey that you sober up a little bit by the time you get back to Austin. Um,
I hope those
the
buses had a bathroom on them.
You had a what?
I hope those buses had a bathroom on them.
Mm, no, they were school buses.
Oh, so you're,
They
like, pulling
very
over
much
every
said
5
to
minutes
everybody,
to
they're
piss?
like, "Look, go hit the porta potty before you go." And then, invariably, I can remember a couple times where they're like, "All right, we're going to pull over here. Just everybody line up on the side of the road." Uh, which, let's be fair, there's if you have the privilege to have outward genitalia, that's a lot easier for you than other
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
But it's it is what it is. Um, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of Coors Banquet beer. I it's one of those things where sometimes you have to sort of make a decision about the social aspects of things.
Yeah.
Adolf Coors was not a nice man. However, he made a tasty beer, and he doesn't really run the company anymore. So
Yeah, he's long since gone. So,
exactly,
yeah. I you could say the same thing about Ford cars. I mean, and I know people don't like Ford cars for a variety of reasons, but Henry Ford was kind of a bastard, but he no
yeah.
longer runs that. Well, I think his kids still run it, don't they?
Not only do his kids still run it, I mean, they own the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
They're all over the place. Did you see Ford versus Ferrari?
No.
Oh boy, Ken, um, whoever you are, Dave. That's
You!
exactly. You should definitely see Ford versus Ferrari. One of the really good sports movies made recently, assuming you consider race car driving a sport.
Yes.
With a lot of classic names in there. Uh, it's hard to say that it's Matt Damon's best film because Good Will Hunting is friggin' phenomenal. But
Them apples.
it's certainly in Matt Damon's top 5 films. Yeah, see, Ken did see it, and the reason why I said Ken is that one of the main characters' name is Ken, Ken Miles, and again, it's a historical dramatization, but it's really really good. I don't
So,
remember why I started talking about it though. Oh,
oh, you're
Ford,
talking about
because
Ford.
Henry Ford the
Mm,
second is a character in the movie because he really does feature into the design. He's heavily involved in the Ford company. And in
yeah.
fact, just the other day, I was looking at the Ford board of directors. and it's still mostly the Ford family.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with teams in the NFC Central. They still have their like their big owners' initials on their jerseys, like long after that, because they put the GSH on the Bears jerseys when Hallis died,
Right,
in the early '80s,
right. And
and
they have
it's still
Henry Clay
there.
Ford.
Yeah, and the Henry Clay Ford is still on the Lions jersey. I don't know why they keep the initials on the jerseys for that long, but I mean, because
Yeah,
usually it's like you honor a player or a owner for a season, and then it's off
yeah. I mean, it's. I think where it
traditionally.
becomes interesting is that when it's the owner's child who's still running the team. So in
Yeah.
the case of the Bears, right? It's. I mean, it's not even the owner's child. It's George Halas's widow is still running the Bears.
Oh my goodness.
Uh, wait, no. Virginia McCaskey is his daughter.
Oh, okay.
Uh, so yeah, she's his daughter. Because he's coaching in '72 for Piccolo. Uh,
Yeah. He died like what 83, I think, is when he passed away. It was
yeah,
right before the Bears had their magical season.
right. And then, right, he didn't get to see them win the Super Bowl. However, then also the matriarch of the Ford family, I guess, just died.
Yeah,
Uh, and they
it
talked
was a
about,
couple of seasons ago. Yeah,
yeah,
but the uh, you know, I think the Bears are cursed because they didn't let um, Sweetness score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. They
yeah,
gave it to
yeah.
the coach. I think that's it's the curse of Walter Payton.
There's a lot of crazy stuff with that. I mean, considering the fact that Walter Payton had to die to get his curse to happen, is pretty sad. But yeah, Virginia McCaskey's 100 years old. She is
Good
George
lord.
Halas's eldest daughter, and obviously, if she's 100 years old, I don't have to tell you what year she was born in.
She she could be a senator,
She was not a senator.
but she could be.
She could, because you're saying she's 100 years old.
Exactly.
She's pretty sharp for 100 years old, I have to say.
It is amazing, but the reason I bring that up is that this week we saw the death of the oldest member of Congress, Dianne Feinstein. She was the oldest member at 90. The death chart has been adjusted. Chuck Grassley, the Iowa senator, who actually has served longer than Dianne Feinstein in the Senate,
Right.
um, is now
Well,
the official crypt keeper of the
no,
U.S. Congress.
Dianne Feinstein had a long political career before getting elected to the Senate.
Yeah, she was mayor of San Francisco, was city councilor
Interestingly
during the
enough,
Harvey Milk thing. Yeah.
Joe Biden, that's how she came to power. Harvey Milk was actually supervisor. I can't remember who the mayor was at the time, but both of them were assassinated.
Yep.
And that's how she came to power, which is interesting. It's worth mentioning, too. Joe Biden is elected to the Senate before Dianne Feinstein as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, I can remember my dad did a sabbatical out at Berkeley in '78. And so I remember going to see a Feinstein campaign event as a child. I was in sixth grade, so it wasn't really, didn't care about it one way or the other. And, at sixth grade, I'm 11 years old. I pretty much defined myself as a Republican at that point in time, even though my parents were hardcore Democrats. Um, but, she certainly had her faults. She was criticized by the ACLU for all sorts of First Amendment violations.
Mhm.
She, you know, is on the cutting edge of a lot of the worst anti-liberty stuff that the Democratic Party has ever done. Uh, on the other hand, you know, she wasn't mean. And, I thought about somebody else posted a sign the other day, posted this somewhere on Facebook. It's probably a mutual friend of ours. And they said, you know what? If I see a person and they have a hijab on, I'm not particularly scared of them. If I see a person and They've got a big gold grill and jewelry. I'm not scared of that either. And if I see somebody and they're academic looking with glasses and some of that, that doesn't bother me. But if you're wearing a Confederate flag or pulling it around, then yeah, that's the sort of thing that I'm like, you have hate in your heart.
Yeah.
Dianne Feinstein did a lot of things. I don't think she ever had hate in her heart. And so I'll put it in that context. She's misguided. She didn't think a lot of things through.
I mean,
And
yeah, she was like one of the biggest proponents for gun control, which,
right,
given in the context of what she had gone through,
yeah,
understandable, but also the fact that she carried a gun herself.
right.
Like, I don't understand, that dichotomy. Like, okay, she wants to carry a gun. I don't know. She carried it inside the Capitol.
I mean, she is certainly here. Here's a good way to put it. She's an example of the worst level of elitism,
Mhm.
where there are people who believe that only certain people get to do good stuff.
The
And
hypocrisy.
she definitely felt that way.
Yeah.
She felt like only the smart people should be allowed to run government. Uh, Only the virtuous people should be allowed to make laws. Only the people who are interested in caring for their neighbors should be given any power. The problem with that, of course, is that if you're making those distinctions of who has power, of who gets to make laws, of who sits in the seats of government, you're being elitist and you're not letting people in. It's no longer a democracy. There's a name for rule by the elites. Uh, is it oligarchy?
Oligarchy.
Yeah. And that's not what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be rule by the lowest common denominator.
So, Joe Jorgensen had an interesting tweet, which I think a lot of people lost their minds over,
Yeah.
because they didn't read the subtext of the tweet
Right.
about how, hopefully Gavin Newsom brings in somebody who represents California more, and the way that she was an 80 no 90-year-old woman who had been in Congress since since
Yeah.
1992. I think she was elected.
Yeah.
So 31 years as a senator, for that long history as within the state of California, within San Francisco, and the state itself. Um, so she absolutely was out of touch with her, the normal everyday folks of California, and we can see how that has translated in the state of California over the decades that she's been involved in, and how California has become kind of this
Right.
weird regulatory hellscape, um, and overtaxed, overburdened, and she definitely has her hand in that.
Yeah. I mean, like any elected politician,
Yes.
based on where we stand, is going to have done things that we think are bad.
Yep.
And I'll give you a great example of that. Arguably the most effective libertarian to be elected in the United States is our friend Jeff Hewitt, who served as county commissioner in Riverside County, which, for people who don't know, Riverside County is everything from about 10 miles east of LA all the way over to the Nevada border. And he had to cut a lot of deals. When he served on the board of commissioners, there were two Democrats, two Republicans, and him as a libertarian. And so he was the swing vote. But in order to get a lot of things that he wanted, he had to agree to vote for things that he might have found a little bit distasteful.
Hmm.
But in doing that, he got those things done. And so, the question is, do you want to vote no on everything, or do you want to be the kingmaker? And if you can be the kingmaker, that's more power. And unfortunately, that's the way government works right now, is that you have to make trades to get power, even if you're using your power to restore power to the people.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly can be that Doctor No of whatever ward you're in.
Right.
Um, that. that is a choice that you can make. Your effectiveness is that people won't be working with you.
Right.
That's the trade-off.
Well, and it should be pointed out that even Ron Paul wasn't truly Dr. No. If there were spending bills that sent money back to his district, he voted for them. And when people asked him if he's being hypocritical, he's like, "This is my constituents' money. I'm just returning it to them."
Yeah.
So I think that is it's an interesting point. I it's going to be interesting. Like, I know Newsom's announced replacement is very controversial.
I haven't even seen an announced replacement. Who did he?
It's Kim Kardashian, and
Nice.
um,
At least something to look at.
exactly.
You
And to be fair, she wouldn't be terrible. She's done a tremendous amount of work that people aren't aware of, getting people pardoned, sentences
yeah.
commuted, stuff like that.
I don't know that I would trust her in the U.S. Senate, though.
Well, I mean,
And not trust her, but I mean, like that. There are
she's going to be more competent than Feinstein.
Well, I mean, that's not a high bar. I mean, Charlie
It's
Manson
not.
was a little more competent than at the end towards the end for Dianne Feinstein. I mean, she
Right.
was there, but she was not there. But I did hear that Meghan Markle is going to be has talked about throwing her hat into the ring for the seat.
That would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, she was an actress. She's married to one of the dukes, but
Is she an American citizen?
yes, she is still an American citizen.
Are you sure? No, because I don't think she was an American citizen before. I think she was Canadian.
What is that all about?
Let's see.
But yeah, she's talked about doing it, and I guess that drew some ridicule.
Oh, she is American.
So did Gavin Newsom announce somebody?
No, I made that up.
Oh, okay, so Gavin Newsom, that's going to be the next thing is who does Gavin Newsom choose? Because that is the right of the governor of California is they get to pick the successor. And there's a variety of options that he can do. He could choose a caretaker. So her seat was up in 2024 anyway.
Right.
He chooses the successor that serves until the next election. It was the end of her term anyway.
Right.
So this successor will serve until 2024. He can choose a caretaker who's, promises not to run again.
Right.
Which is, generally, if you're trying to stay out of that race,
Yeah.
and not put your thumb on the scales of that race, that would be the way to go. He can also resign his governorship, and the lieutenant governor can
Appoint him
him
senator
as the senator. That's happened a few times throughout history.
Yep.
If he wants to stay, because I think he is going to be term limited as far as governor.
Yeah, I think you're
California. Right. So if he wants to stay in the national political conversation, that might be an avenue for him.
Yeah.
Also, he could nominate somebody that he thinks that aligns with him politically. Like, maybe he goes the political firebrand and goes with somebody like a Katie Porter, who has been angling to run for that seat already, who is a darling of the progressive set, who has, I've seen her. She's a lawyer by trade, and she has, she asks some really good questions in Congress, but she is one of those congressional peacocks that uses those committees to really posture herself as this person of the people. So,
who is the other California senator? It's Alex Padilla. And it's interesting because Janice raises a good point. It would be a shame to not appoint a woman, in my opinion.
Yes. He could go totally young, and there's a young rep down in San Diego, Sarah Burns. Is it Burns? She's like, I don't know if she's old enough to be a senator, but she's one of the youngest members of Congress. And that, now you talk about actually setting somebody up to serve for 60 years. She could. I mean, the way that things are going in Congress, that is is a possibility.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I I suspect that you're right that he might appoint himself. He's so popular. But I don't know. Adam Schiff, I see as being named as possible. Uh,
Yeah, I don't think he goes naming a dude unless
yeah,
Schiff says I'm not running for the seat in 2024.
yeah. Katie Porter is
Katie Porter
listed.
is the one I think he goes for.
Yeah,
If
from
he wants
Irvine.
if he wants to stay that seat to stay very California progressive, I think it goes to Katie Porter.
Yeah.
But I actually think that no matter who he puts in there, if it's um,
Yeah.
kind of a caretaker or kind of a milk toast
It's in,
Democrat, then Katie Porter beats them in 2024.
James makes an interesting point. Ellen is indeed a resident of California. Oprah, I believe, is a resident of Illinois. Um, but it would be
Or
interesting to.
Hawaii, or I mean, she's got houses all over the place, so she could technically be a resident of any of those areas.
Yeah, I
It just depends on where she's registered to vote at.
yeah. Um,
You are here, Facebook user. I just don't see your name. So if you,
yeah, we don't know who you are, Facebook user who just made that post. Let's see where they're posted. Which
I am here too.
right. Uh,
Oh,
Interesting. That would be interesting if it were true.
Franza Butler, Emily's List. Hey, I think Katie Porter beats her, but
Yeah.
does Katie Porter?
No, he's right. 17 minutes ago on Politico, Newsom picks LaFonza Butler as Feinstein's replacement. Nice job, Craig. Breaking the news.
Oh, we got breaking news.
Done.
Yes, the news is broken. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
All right. Yeah, it's I don't know what to feel about that one. It's a very political choice. I don't know much about. I mean, I know some people that have worked for Emily's List in the past, but I don't know anything really about their president. So we'll see. I'm sure.
I will say.
I'm sure the Republicans have already got reams of stuff to go out to
Yeah.
the media about her.
I will say, having had friends who tried to get support from Emily's List, it's a little bullshit. They're incredibly partisan. They only support Democratic women. And that leads us to something I think is worth talking about a little bit. I don't want to get us off of this about. But the idea of just how dangerous cancel culture is becoming now, as we get more and more partisan. Heidi, we'll come back with some more football talk for you later on. But this whole thing of Emily's List, right, which started off as a thing of like, we're supporting women getting elected, but actually, no, we're only supporting Democratic women getting elected. That's kind of bullshit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, a group can support whoever they want to. I mean,
yeah.
I just does it become if you hit yourself too much to that wagon, are you that effective? Emily's
List is obviously incredibly effective and influential.
Yeah, I mean, Emily stands for early money is like yeast. So the idea that
exactly.
they get involved into a political race very early with money that puts a female candidate much, at a better advantage early in a race, and then gets their name out there, gets donations rolling in.
Yeah,
not just from the list, but from the members will start sending money to those those candidates. So, I mean,
I'll tell you,
it's
yeah, I have a little more news on LaFonza Butler. So before joining Emily List, she was a director for public policy and campaigns at Airbnb. Uh,
interesting.
Prior to that, she was a partner at SCRB Strategies, specializing in campaigns, companies, and president and communications. And then for a decade before that, she was the president of SEIU, a union representing more than 325,000
Uh,
nursing home and home care workers throughout California.
Lots
Is
of
the
money.
exactly
Yeah. All right. So she,
She's
in
a hardcore
essence,
Democrat.
hardcore Democrat.
Worked
Um,
worked the worked in the space to be the next Democrat in line. She certainly earned this
yeah.
position. Now, what's interesting is that she was on the board of directors of the University of California. She was appointed to the board by Jerry Brown, who Democrat, but still among my favorite governors of California, because
Moonbeam.
back in the day, people don't remember, Jerry Brown was the first person to call for uh, the abolition of the Department of Education when Jimmy Carter founded it, and he dated Linda Ronstadt. And man, I loves me some Linda Ronstadt.
There you go.
I'm going back someday, come what may. Blue Bayou. Sorry.
So, in other news,
Yes,
Jack Smith is seeking a gag order on Donald Trump. So, I mean, I think Melania knows all about gagging when it comes to Donald Trump. But
exactly.
um,
And I mean, we all know he prefers the ball and the straps to a cloth gag. So
true.
it, it's a really fine line because the argument that they're making is the reason why they need to have the gag order is because it's going to make it difficult to get an impartial jury.
Well, I mean, this actually came from an actual. So here's why they've moved to do a new gag order on this thing is that apparently on Truth Social, Trump singled out former chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, and said that he had committed treason, and in olden days, or in days of yore, days gone by, he would have been killed, or he would have been shot for doing that. So the reason why they're calling for the gag order is that Milley is actually not a defendant, but a witness in his DC trial.
Right.
He joined chiefs of staff there that in January 6th. So he is a material witness, and this is on the grounds of intimidation of witnesses.
Yeah.
How long do you
Uh,
think before Trump does get some serious legal sanction off of something he says?
I don't know. I mean, the thing about it is that it's one of those really tough dancing games because he doesn't say, "Oh, you know what? I want people to go to their house and beat them up and kill them at 34 Mockingbird Lane." The statement that they claimed that he said that was too much was, "Well, if they're going to attack me, I'm going to attack back."
Yeah,
Well, Jesus Christ.
that's
Okay.
self-defense. I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I get, but
So
this one's a little more. I mean, I
what are
don't
they
know.
saying he
You're
said?
calling up. So he says that Mark Milley had committed treason, and that in days gone by he would have been killed. They would have killed him for it. So I mean, to me, that is a lot more intimidating because he is a candidate for president and could eventually be in that position where he could make those calls, at least request that the Justice Department do something about that.
Yeah. I mean, the president doesn't execute people. He can't even find anybody guilty.
No, this is true.
Uh, but um, I do. I mean, I get what you're saying. You know, how much does he get to express his anger? I mean, is it poorly phrased? Is it inappropriate? Yeah, but it's not like he's actually saying somebody should go kill him.
I don't know. I mean, we probably know people that are dealing with a lawsuit right now, um,
Sure.
up in northern state Detroit area
Yeah.
that are dealing with a gag order themselves and have to be very careful about what they talk about and what they say. And if you violate that, you're going to get a judge angry. And I don't know. I mean, for me, I think that I don't think this one is as close as you can get. I think he's very much towing the line right now.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I think as we get closer into the election
but yeah,
and the stresses hit there,
let's.
he's going
But
to
we're
do
not
something.
talking. We're not talking. That's apples and oranges there because in Michigan, the gag order is to prevent them from damaging the brand that they're claiming to represent.
Mhm.
Right here, Trump is being critical of the people of the case against him.
Again, you can't openly go after witnesses, though. And I mean, he knows who the witnesses are at this point.
Sure, sure, sure. But
So,
I mean, it's interesting for him to say, "You're right." I mean, you're right. If James Gandolfini or whatever his character's name was, uh, Tony Soprano, is on the thing, and he's like,
mm,
this guy who's this witness against me would be terrible if he had an accident or something. Well, that's one thing. Okay, I don't know. It's
I think at some point he's going to say something during this campaign,
maybe
whether it's on Truth Social or during one of his because he starts getting he gets rolling on these campaign stops,
it's
and Lord
well,
knows
and it's clear that he is still tweeting himself,
yeah,
and his staff does not have the ability to edit
I
or
know.
control what he puts out there.
Yeah, I think at some point he's going to say something that is going to get him under some serious legal sanction. Uh, whether it's spending the night in a pokey or what, I don't know. I'm not a judge, and I don't know that much about what happens when you violate this stuff. But something's going to happen, and that'll be interesting because I think a judge doing something like that will embolden Trump more to do it again and again. I think
Well,
Trump feeds off of the
you know, the other thing about it that's so incredibly stupid about this is that if Trump wants to put something out onto social media, right? Why can't he have somebody else overseas put it out? And he said, "Oh, I've been really following this guy," something like that, right? I mean, it's like just like campaign finance is incredibly stupid because there's always a way around it. And so, directly intimidating witnesses, sure, that shouldn't happen. But if something like that happens, the witness the witness knows they've been directly intimidated. I
yeah.
mean, if this guy says, "Oh, I feel like that's a threat," but to say, he's guilty of treason. I mean, if he just said he's guilty of treason, would you have said that was intimidating?
And I think you have to put it in context of what he's trying to do. So again, he's running for president. He will have hands on power to not make that decision, make the final decision, but he certainly could make Millie's life a living hell. And anybody who else, I mean, if he's willing to do that to Mark Milley,
Adam's
celebrated
got it
leader,
right there.
yeah, um, yeah, uh, the if he's willing to do that for him, then some of these lesser known, younger people who are witnesses to this, what do they do?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I definitely see your point. Uh, it's just, I think there's a better way to counter it than a gag order.
Ball gag would, I mean, that would
Yeah,
ball gag and maybe taping his thumbs to his hands, like just taping his hands into fists so he can't text. That would probably be the best way to do it. But
right. We
The
can't
finger
call
prison.
them
Yeah,
exactly. We can't call them what they used to be
yeah,
called, but
yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he does do something stupid before the election that is going to get him in legal hot water before the trials, and I think it's going to increase as we get closer and closer to the trials. So
I think it's certainly possible. I think that it's more likely that one of these cases is going to going
finger
to come
detention,
up with something
yes,
that is incriminating.
finger rendition device.
I mean, I really do think that he tried to overturn the election. I think that he
Oh yeah,
wanted Raffensperger to change the votes, and that was illegal. And I think that he asked Mike Pence to obstruct the government, which Mike Pence refused to do, to his credit.
yep.
Um, and honestly, if I were Mike Pence or if I were Ron DeSantis, that's the note that I would be hitting at all the debates. And I would say, one of the things I want to get up here is I want to talk about Mike Pence and the great job that he did in stopping Donald Trump from overturning the election.
But they're so
That,
scared of his voters. They're,
sure,
I
sure,
mean,
sure. No, but that's why this is a great deflection,
yeah.
because you thank Mike Pence for it, and you say, and then you say, now should Mike Pence be president? I think of Mike Pence the same way that Donald Trump thought of Jeb Bush. Low energy. Please clap. Uh, but oh God.
Oh,
Um, on the
that
other
and
hand,
Dean Scream are probably the two biggest, just
please
campaign
clap.
moments.
Yeah, please clap is astonishing.
Yeah, please clap. But then, I think at that point for Jeb, he knew that the
Oh my
jig was
God.
up on his campaign. And he was just like, "What do I got to do here?" Screw it.
Well, I think Nick Sarwark's quote about that was amazing. He's like, the Republican Party took $83 million, put it in a hole, and lit it on fire to try to get Jeb Bush to be the nominee, and
Yeah,
that didn't work.
no,
Although, in retrospect, if the Trump train hadn't gotten rolling, if the Republicans had been smarter, like the Democrats were, I mean, I don't know if the Democrats were really smarter, because I do think that if Bernie Sanders had gotten the nomination, he still would have beaten Donald Trump in 2016 or 2020.
yeah, I could see that. I the the only one that Donald Trump could have beaten in 2020 or 2016 was Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats uh, gave her the platform, and you know,
And
and in
Hillary,
2020 it was yeah, they had that moment of clarity and they brought Biden forth. I still
yeah,
think that almost anybody on that stage, yeah, maybe saving like Marianne Williamson,
right,
probably would have won the election versus Donald Trump just because I think
yeah,
people were ready for some like a level of sanity.
yeah. No,
And
I agree with that. And in many ways, Biden was the worst possible candidate to come
yeah,
out of that. Like an
that's why it was so
LED.
close.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Uh, I do think that in 2020 or 2016, uh, the Democrats, remember, they had a strategy to promote Donald Trump. They wanted him to win the primary,
Yeah. Oh
and
god.
then
And then they
Hillary
did that in
didn't.
2022 trying with those candidates, like promoting those and voting for them and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about it is, and that's what's so crazy about it. Why I think they might be willing to make MGT speaker, because if they're willing to do all that other crazy shit, why not make MGT
Please,
speaker? And
God, do not do that. I'm begging you, if you're a Democrat happening to watching this and your member of Congress says, "Hey, we should nominate MTG
yeah,
or Boebert or Matt Gaetz or any one of those ass clowns to be speaker just because it'll, be funsies," stop. Don't do that. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. Um, you ready for the quiz?
I'm ready.
You are ready for the quiz. All right, we're going to hide the chat. Feel free to drop your answers as we get to them. But I'm going to hide this so we can bring in the 5 snooze quiz. Oh, let's take a look at the context clues. That was Usher. That is something. and that is the unwatched Republican presidential debate.
I watched like half of it.
Did
I
you?
wasn't planning. I wasn't planning to, but then I was online, and my friend Thomas Sheedy, who I believe is going to be a guest on the show next
Yes,
weekend,
next week.
Thomas Sheedy invited me to a debate watch party, and so I hopped into it, and it was pretty frustrating.
Oh,
Um,
I
I
watched
mean,
watched a couple highlights. I totally forgot the thing happened.
yeah, I mean the North Dakota guy, uh,
Morgan.
yeah, that's just I don't know what he's doing up there. Uh, and then Nikki Haley, right? It's crazy to me. She's so much better than everybody else that's in there that I
Well, and
can't see how.
I think it's from a perspective that we're coming at it from, that she's better than everyone else in there. Because
Right.
I think on a lot of the red meat Republican Party politics stuff, she may be a little bit out of step with the what the base is now.
Yeah.
Um, would would I vote for Nikki Haley? Probably not. Would I be happy if she got the Republican nomination? Probably, because I think she's a little
I
more
mean, I would
stable
vote
than
for
the
Nikki
rest of the
Haley over Rechtenwald.
Well, yeah, yeah.
So
Because I mean, you got two Republicans in the well, you got a Republican on the Libertarian side, and then you got Biden. I, you know, that's a
right.
God, that's a
Well,
hard.
I'm saying let's just assume that Biden's going to drop out and it's a mini
And
Kamala.
that's, I mean, good lord,
Don't you want an all Indian American women presidential final?
I want a all. I mean, honestly, I think our women politicians are better overall, but there are, it's more than half of the United States is made up of women. And if you're telling me that those are the two choices we would have, it's still
Well, so let's talk a
it's
little girl power real quick, right? Because do you know what the most watched NFL game was last week?
oh my goodness. I'm sure we'll have a question about that here, but yeah, it's the Chiefs game.
Right.
I'm sure it
Because of
was this
Taylor
week
Swift.
too. Yep.
And Taylor Swift is kind of politically active, and her new boyfriend, Travis Kelsey, is also politically active. He's not really politically active, but he's advocating for people to get vaccinated. Um, it's interesting. All right, let's see if it's in the quiz.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But Usher is going to be. Well, we'll get a question about the Super Bowl halftime because he is the halftime show. Which major strike in the United States ended this week? Writer strike, auto worker strike, actor strike, or pilot strike?
The I know this will let the users let our audience have a moment to guess at this.
Yeah. Janice talks about Doug Borgum,
Yep,
North Dakota governor.
Heidi
Uh,
got it. It was indeed the
it,
writer's strike,
it
and
was the writers.
it's interesting because it is. Let's do a long analysis on this. The writers think they got everything they
I got it.
wanted, but they didn't.
No, there lawyers involved.
Well, no. I mean, they did get more pay, better better residuals, better chunk of the streaming volume.
Yep.
But what's going to happen is, Netflix and Amazon and Apple have already talked about this, and they're the big streaming services at this point. And they said, look, our budget for entertainment for the year isn't changing. So if each show costs more, that means we're going to make less shows.
Yeah.
And so now what's interesting about that is does that leave space for smaller independent productions to get stuff out there? Because there
Well, it's all
are
about having a platform, though. At that point,
well, but so I mean that's where YouTube is really powerful
yeah.
because I don't know if you've ever seen the fan generated Star Trek shows on YouTube. They're fucking amazing. Really good science fiction, good special effects. Um, and there's no reason why, a couple people with a stage couldn't shoot a four camera sitcom. So maybe part of that'll happen.
Yeah. But it's not back to work because the actors are still out, so
Right.
they can write all they want to, but they can't get it on the air just yet. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens there. Where did the second Republican presidential debate take place? Iowa, Maine, California, or Georgia?
Oh, I don't even want this answer, people. I want you to tell me what building it took place in.
I'm assuming because I heard. So it was the. I'll let somebody else answer it, but Janice is right. It's in California.
Janice is right.
The building I know it's a popular one for
It's
Republicans.
what?
It's a popular one for Republicans, probably.
It is. I think they've had one there every year. All right, I think we should go. It was at the Ronald Reagan Library in California. Yeah, Janice, good job. Before we talk about the debate, I want to tell you one of my favorite debate stories from there. In 2012, uh, Mitt Romney, Ron Paul, and Rick Santorum are still in the race at the time, and they have the debate at the Ronald Reagan Library. And who's the NBC guy who got disgraced and had to quit?
Brian
Former
Williams.
Brian Williams, right? Brian Williams is the host, and he says to them, he's like, "So tell me, each of you, why here we are in the Reagan Library. Why do you think Ronald Reagan would support your bid for president?" And Mitt Romney gives a Mitt Romney answer, and Rick Santorum gives him a moral majority answer, and Ron Paul says, "Well, Ronald Reagan came out and campaigned for me when I ran for Congress, walked the streets with me in 1976. So I think he would support me." And I just thought that was a great story.
Yeah. Question number 3: which pop star sent the internet into a frenzy after making a surprise appearance at a Kansas City Chiefs football game? I wonder who this is.
James says David Letterman
David Letterman, absolutely.
has the same beard. Come on, one of our fans knows this. Yeah, Heidi's got it.
Yes, Heidi got it.
Taylor
Taylor Swift.
Swift. Yeah. Now I will say that woman with the glasses to the left of Taylor Swift
Yes.
is Travis Kelce's mother. She did not seem so thrilled about. She didn't have Taylor Swift's level of enthusiasm about the game, but it is what it is. And I did watch last night. NBC in its dynamic programming put on the Travis Kelce hosted Saturday Night Live again.
Yes.
And it's interesting. The NFL is doing everything they can to capture all the Swifties.
They are. I mean, it's a massive market,
Yep.
and they're willing to spend stupid money to see her, and they're willing to spend stupid money to go to football games,
Yep.
buy stuff on resale market. I'm sure the resale market for any Chiefs game going forward until the eventual breakup song is written
Right.
Is going to be through the roof.
Well,
Just for a chance to see her in a luxury suite if you can.
it's interesting. So I don't know a lot about Travis Kelce, but I do know that he was in a ton of sketches when he was on Saturday Night Live. And generally, you have to be a hard worker and pretty smart to do
Well,
that.
he does a show like ours with his brother every week, and um, I think he is. I mean, he does a ton of commercial work. He gets a lot of
Yeah.
advertising work, so I'm sure he's very familiar with being in front of a camera and hamming it up and things
Yeah.
like that.
I like the fact that they are age appropriate for each other. Not that I'm prudish about that, but I don't like to see 40-year-old guys dating 20-year-old women. Just
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense to me. In this case, Travis Kelce is 32. Taylor Swift is 33. That seems
is she
fine
that
with
old
me.
now?
She is 33. Yeah.
Wow,
I mean, dude, she's been around for a long time.
she has been. Um,
I mean, she broke on the scene when she was,
yeah,
when
like
you're 15,
15, 16.
somebody says that he loves you, you believe them. We are the libertarian Kelsey brothers in exile.
We are
Yeah,
just
the interesting thing about that,
less beard action.
but I was going to say that Dave and I both weigh as much as the Kelsey brothers. So
We're just not 6 foot something.
yeah, exactly.
Piece. Yeah.
Right. Travis Kelsey and I are both 245 pounds. So
wow.
Interesting. I like Taylor Swift. The music, not so much, but the business person, she's a great business person. So
Oh yeah. I mean, I mean, I liked Garth Brooks' music to an extent, but he was an absolute marketing genius.
yeah,
Um, and it will always have a kind of a mark on American music just because of that marketing genius.
yeah,
But yeah, she's rapidly getting to that same level. So
yeah, she's the same way.
question number 4: how many free COVID-19 tests can households now order from the Gov?
I
2,
know this,
4,
but I
10,
have to
or 12.
answer. If you could put James's comment up there, James says Michael Jackson's better. James, do you know what Michael Jackson's favorite sale was at Sears?
Oh no.
Boys' trousers, 50% off. Sorry.
I always thought we should go after Victoria's Secret for advertising women's unmentionables. 50% off of that show. 50% off.
I liked Seinfeld had an interesting joke about Victoria's Secret. He said, the Victoria's Secret, I don't know what it is. It just makes me uncomfortable being near it in the mall because if I'm near it, then I'm that much closer to walking in at some point. And that would just be terrible.
I've gone in with my now wife, and I've gone in with past girlfriends, and I always felt like the biggest creep in the world
Yeah,
walking into those things. Like I just and she, oh, I want you to help me pick out stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but if you move away for a second, then I'm just standing there in the middle of Victoria's Secret.
exactly.
Then it's stranger danger. And
Well, and I don't know where I am, and this is a conversation that I think a lot of men don't have. I'm not a huge lingerie fan. Most of the time, I look at that stuff and I'm like, that just looks uncomfortable.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I
it's a means to an end, but I'm really ready to get to the end.
I was going to say, I don't need any other incentive,
Exactly.
right? I mean, for me, foreplay is, are you ready? That's it. That's all I need. Then I'm ready.
Sometimes just that
And
look.
and
And
I'll
like,
tell you,
okay.
here's another interesting thing about it is that so I am pretty old now, 55, and I can remember thinking, just how girl crazy I was, right? 15, 25, and thinking to myself, is there going to be a time in my life where as I get older, I am less driven, less crazy, etc. Not at 55. It hasn't happened
Yeah,
yet.
not 50. Yeah, like I
It's crazy, and it's crazy like how biologically driven we are. I mean, I
I mean,
pride myself on
not
being
to the point where I'm like leering and doing all the bad stuff, but if a
exactly
pretty woman
right.
walks by, I look and move about my day. I don't harass them or anything, but yeah, I mean, it's still there. Like,
Yeah, no,
I
exactly right. I mean that level of motivation, right? I mean, I am smart enough to say, man, this situation I could get into a lot of trouble here. I need to leave right now. But it is one of those things that just I mean, I still, still to this day, like I love.
we've been
Yeah,
chastised.
fair enough, Janice. All right, I'm going to stop talking about that.
All right,
I
so
think Heidi had the right answer.
Heidi had the right answer. Actually, James had the right answer first.
James had the right answer.
James had the right answer first.
Nice job, James.
There you go, James. Yep, 4 tests. If you get a 5th test, you will be beaten.
Yeah, I'm going to get my new combination shots this week.
Is that 4 tests a year, or is that 4 tests like over a period of time?
Well, so they say
Or
that the
forever?
tests are actually only good for 6 months. So
So,
if you had tests before,
all right.
then they're technically expired. I mean, I still got them lying around, but I guess it makes sense to get new ones.
I mean, we're just here to guide people on the journey.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just
And first of all, Adam, with your last name, you should appreciate what we were saying. Sorry, dude. I can't help it.
he's a caller. Right on.
Yep.
Question number 5. Which retail chain recalled nearly 50,000 mattresses due to risk of mold exposure? Macy's, Walmart, Costco, or J.C. Penney? I need help on this one. I didn't hear this story.
Oh, I know this one.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Oh, we got an answer in the chat.
I'm going to have to say somebody else should come up with a better answer.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Craig
Oh,
says,
my opinion, Craig is right. And that's what's surprising about it is you would argue that Macy's is the highest end name on there. I could be wrong,
I mean,
but I think it was Macy's.
do you think Walmart would have recalled him? They just
I think Walmart would have said, how can they be bad as mattresses? They work great as sandwich filling.
All right, so let's do with Macy's.
Oh,
Dan.
it was Costco. Janice and Heidi were right. Yeah, it's terrible.
Excuse me just a second. I've got to go pee and then throw up, and because the information is not pleasing.
Dan was so sure of himself.
I was sure it was Macy's. What the hell?
Costco. Yeah, it does surprise me about Costco because Costco. I mean, the Walmart Costco thing, but or no, they're Sam's Club.
I mean, it's
But-
interesting. It's interesting that they were exposed to water while they were being made, because then they get wrapped in that plastic wrap, and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Nice.
So they're exposed to water during the manufacturing process. What in the? I mean, unless there was a leak in the roof or something.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
All right. Question number 6. What is creeping up the Mississippi River towards New Orleans that is sparking concern among officials? Saltwater, oil spill, seaweed blob, or marine debris?
Zombies.
Zombies.
All right, and we're always doubting you.
Heidi.
What do you think this is? Oh wait,
Heidi.
Heidi's in New Orleans.
Heidi, saltwater.
That makes sense. Although that would be surprising to me. Adam also says saltwater, so that I mean,
We're not
where
trusting
New Orleans-
Dan anymore.
Yeah, where New Orleans is, I would have thought that at the very least that's pretty brackish. Although I guess there's a lot of flow. Yeah, let's go with Heidi and Adam.
Let's do that. And that's correct. So that's what that picture was.
Yeah.
Surge of saltwater is creeping up the Mississippi River towards New Orleans, threatening to pollute the drinking water. That makes sense. Of around 800,000 people.
That's pretty crazy.
How much treatment does that water have to go through? Knowing what all has been dumped into the Mississippi River.
Well, and I mean, it's a working river, so there are boats that traverse the Mississippi all the way up to, I want to say Minneapolis.
I don't know if you can all the way go up to Minneapolis. I mean, I know people have kayaked all the way down the Mississippi River from Minneapolis.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, Coons River Dam in Coons Rapids, Minneapolis.
There you go. Question number 7. Former President Donald Trump and his adult sons were found liable for fraud in which state? Nevada, Florida, New York, or California?
I know this.
I don't remember which state.
Janice says it's saltwater.
Yeah, it's saltwater. All of them. Eventually, I think there's a chance of that.
No way in Florida. But
Heidi says New York.
I agree with Heidi.
Adam says, I think New York. I wish all of them. Yeah, me too.
I agree.
So, New York City.
New York City.
Yep, found liable for fraud.
Dave, most people don't know what that's a reference to when we say it like that.
Pace Picante.
Exactly.
Pace Picante sauce used to have a commercial in the 80s where they would talk about the great sauce or picante sauce they made, and then somebody would bring out a jar of something else, and they'd look at where it was because it was made in El Paso,
Right.
where good great picante sauce is made, and then the other jar would have made in New York City, and people would get threatened over it. It was quite harrowing.
Yeah.
Question number 8. Approximately how many smartphone notifications do teenagers receive each day? I know how many I receive. Well, approximately how many I receive each day, and it's got to be the high end.
It can't be 237. That's ridiculous.
Well, you know what we say about the numbers on these.
Right. It's either the top or the bottom.
It's
27 seems low. I say we go with whatever Janice says.
She is the closest to teenage.
Yes.
I am not a teenager.
You're right. I tell you what, I'm looking at a picture of the Mississippi River.
Janice says 237. I'm thinking of all the notifications.
I guess if you include like all the spam and shit, then maybe.
Well, I'm not just. I mean, because most of the things can send you a notification. Like I've got
your apps and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've got Discord. I've got Signal, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Everything's sending you multiple notifications throughout the day, especially if you're somewhat popular.
All right, well, let's go 237.
And it is.
All right, nice job, Janice.
237. Yeah, to me that's easy.
Wait, scroll up. I want to see the question again.
How many
approximately do teenagers receive each day? So that's kind of weird because down below they say as many as, and so that would reply that's hot. I don't know. It's not like it's an average number, but
yeah,
it's interesting. Researchers
it's weirdly worded.
Leave their notification on even when they feel bombarded. Now, see, that's crazy because, like, I put my phone is actually permanently in do not disturb mode.
But you know that, and I do that a lot too. But you know what? I mean, if you've grown up with nothing but having a cell phone and being attached to that, and that being like the instant, that dopamine hit you get from notifications, people commenting on your stuff, people liking your stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't know anything other than that, I can imagine how hard it is to. I mean, it's hard for me to break away. Like when I was getting my Facebook bans, it was hard to break away. Like people would say something, I want to comment, and I can't comment on it. It was just awful, and I couldn't imagine if that's my entire life.
Right.
So, yeah. Question number 9: More than 3 million Hyundai and Kia vehicles are involved in a new recall due to what widespread issue? Fire risks, faulty airbags, brake failure, or seatbelt malfunction.
This I don't know at all. I can say that I owned a Hyundai from 2003 until 2013, Hyundai Sonata, and that car was fantastic.
Nice. James says airbag. Yeah, I'm clueless on this one. I have not heard this story.
Yeah, we need more people to come in. Oh, Heidi says break.
Break.
We need some more votes. Yeah, that Sonata.
Heidi's on the road a lot, so.
Oh.
Janice says fire risk. So we've got, and Adam says fire risks. We got 2 to 1 to 1 on fire risks.
You said, but Heidi drives a lot?
Heidi drives a lot. Yeah, drives for a living. So.
Well, then I think it's more likely that she'll know. So I think we go with Heidi on this one.
We go with Heidi on this one.
Yes.
Oh, fire risks.
Fire risks. Janice had it right again.
Janice and Adam.
Yep.
Yeah. New recall warns of millions of Hyundais and Kia vehicles suddenly becoming barbecues.
Yeah. It's funny. That really is a bad thing if all of a sudden your car's on fire.
Yeah. I mean, that does suck. Question number 10: Which musician will headline the Super Bowl? Whatever number that is, 8.
58.
58.
Yep.
Halftime show.
It's Prince.
Madonna, Beyonce, Harry Styles, or Usher. Prince will be an interesting one. Not a whole lot of dancing.
Right.
It's kind of stiff.
It's not going to be Madonna.
No, I know who it is.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is it Usher?
It
Oh,
is
we
Usher.
saw him at the beginning, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and go.
Yep. It is Usher. Grammy-winning R&B singer Usher will take the field at Las Vegas Allegiant Stadium, named after an awful airline, at on February 11th, 2024. This one is kind of underwhelming. Like, Usher really hasn't done. I mean, he still writes a ton of stuff, and he still performs, but like
I guess
recent stuff,
he's safe.
he's safe. I mean,
I mean,
the last time they had could you imagine if they brought like Garth and Trisha Yearwood for? I mean,
well, remember that it was down to two between Usher and R. Kelly, and they decided to go with Usher, which is
R.
probably
Kelly's in
better.
jail, isn't he?
Exactly. Well, he's getting out. Is R. Kelly in jail?
Yeah, he went to jail for rape, I think.
I remember he was being charged. I didn't think he went to jail.
R. Kelly proving that it's better to be pissed off than pissed on.
Yes.
Yeah, he is a pop elder. I don't know. I would like to see, because we haven't seen a country halftime show since the San Diego versus 49ers Super Bowl, which is like 1995, 96, somewhere in that area. 90,
Yeah.
97 maybe. Um,
Yeah, he
and I haven't really seen a good one. Well, I mean, the last good one was the 90s or the 80s and 90s rap with Snoop Dogg and
Dr. Dre and
Dr. Dre and all. That was a
Dre.
really great one.
That was good. I liked the Aerosmith one. Who else?
Probably special guest Little John, Pitbull, and Ludacris. Again, all three. I mean, Little John I see a little bit more often, but
Turned down
Luda's doing
what?
more acting than anything.
Yeah.
Pitbull.
I mean, I don't care. The nice thing about
I mean, it's
the halftime Super Bowl show is that all the other networks put something else on. So there's the Puppy Bowl,
Kitten halftime special. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that DraftKings is going to do something pretty spectacular.
Yeah, they should do one with Shakira so she can pay off her taxes in Spain. Because I love Shakira. I am. If she has to go and do jail time, they can send her to my house. I will make sure that she never leaves, but not like in a creepy way. But I mean,
right?
She'll have run of the house.
Yeah. I didn't they have a thing where like they tried to put Messi and his father in prison too in Spain?
Oh yeah, Spain is vicious when it comes to taxes, because I think Ronaldo's playing in Saudi, and part of it is because Spain is so vicious when it comes to taxes.
Yeah,
and because they think that if you have a house in Spain, you live there, and all your income that you receive, no matter where you are in the world, is their money. So
that's pretty crazy.
Spain is awful when it comes to taxes.
I was not aware that it was that bad. It's interesting that as an EU nation, they can do that. Is Spain in the EU?
Yeah.
I thought that there was some agreement between the nations in terms of what happens.
Well, I think a lot of it is because Shakira lives in Miami, so they wanted to tax her American income.
Right. So she's not an EU citizen.
No, she's from Colombia.
Yeah, I agree.
And lives in Miami, has a house in Barcelona, and
right. And so come to think of it, Lionel Messi obviously would not be an EU citizen either. Although, what's his name is?
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo, yeah. It's interesting.
Anyway, so that is the show this week. So next week we have Mr. Sheedy, right?
Yep, Thomas Sheedy.
Thomas Sheedy
who is the American, the Atheists for Liberty, which is an organization dedicated not as much as you would think to atheism, although that's part of what they're talking about, but to making sure that religious conversations can happen and people who are atheists are not treated poorly. The quiz score was 8 out of 10, Janice.
8 out of 10.
Yep.
Gonna be-
One.
Yeah, that sucked. But so that's our show next week. And then the week after, we will have our country feature back again. We'll be talking about Paraguay.
Paraguay. So,
And then topic to be decided at that point. But we'll be getting closer to our Halloween, our Octoberween extravaganza.
yep.
Where we'll dress up again like we did last year. I might even wear the same costume again because that was a fun one.
What did you wear last time?
I went as our favorite LNC secretary.
Oh, right. And I wore my Elvis costume, which I have since thrown away. I threw away my Elvis costume and I threw away my gorilla suit.
Oh, your Elvis costume has left the building.
Yes, exactly.
It has.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll be in the middle of the Major League Baseball playoffs. Hockey won't have
Hockey
quite
starts.
started.
Oh, that's another piece of news that I do have is that the hockey show is changing. So
Yes.
no longer Thursday night hockey show. We are actually doing a half-hour show at 6 p.m. on game nights for the Buffalo Sabres. It's called the Scabbard because nothing covers a saber like a scabbard. So
Interesting.
that is our that is my new hockey show. 6 p.m. on East Coast game nights. Later, of course, as we move out west for some West Coast games later this year.
It's fascinating. Scabbard is a sheath.
It goes over a saber.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that when we say goodnight, everybody's homework assignment is to look up the Latin word for sheath.
Holy sheath.
Exactly. All right.
Look up the Swedish word for taxes as well. That's
Okay. So Latin word for
Sheath.
sheath and the Swedish word for taxes.
Yes.
All right. That sounds good.
Yep.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.